All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy show, recapping UFC Vegas 69, recapping UFC Blanchfield versus Andrade versus Blanchfield. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Usually, my co-host is the great Ben Duffy, senior editor of Sherdog.com. But he did his best William Knight impression, just didn't show up at all. So coming in on short notice, hopefully he does like an Alex Hernandez and not a Jessica Andrade. It's the guy you know and love. Dev goes fishing. Dev, what's up, man?
Oh, not much, man. I'm happy to be here. What a weird night of fights, and we definitely had a cherry on top to end it.
Yeah, we definitely had a weird card. We had some really high moments. We had some low moments. Everything in between. Let's get right into it. Main event: Jessica Andrade taking on Erin Blanchfield. Jessica Andrade obviously is someone who's fought multiple weight classes, multiple title shots. Probably, yeah, I don't like to use the word legend, but she's probably at least on the cusp of being a legend. Taking on newcomer Erin Blanchfield, only 23 years old, first main event, change of opponent. A lot of people thought the step up from Blanchfield going from Molly McCann to originally Talia Santos was going to be too big of a step up. Then it changes Jessica Andrade, and the narrative kind of goes even worse. Like, oh my God, is there someone more scary than Jessica Andrade? What the hell do we know? This is the coming out part. We thought the Molly McCann in New York City, which I was there live, like that was the big moment. No, she just ran through Jessica freaking Andrade. She's 23.
This striking performance really reminded me of last week's main event with Islam, where I was like, oh, she just won that exchange. Oh, she just won another exchange. Erin Blanchfield is winning all of the striking with her jab and her straight shots. Her team did the right tape study for this. Like, you could tell she's very well fucking schooled. It's early. I'm already cursing, but this was a good fucking performance from Erin Blanchfield. For me, she kind of blew Jessica Andrade out of the water.
Yeah, and speaking of cursing, I should say the shout out to all the people in the chat. A lot of our usuals in there, a couple of newcomers. Thank you guys. We just ask that you be respectful to everybody. Obviously, you can debate debate the point, not the person. You know, don't attack, or should I say, attack the point, not the person. Yeah. So before we get into the X's and goes, one thing that really stood out to me is Erin Blanchfield was not intimidated, because when you fight Jessica Andrade, there's always like this intimidation factor. Like, it instantly goes in, you see what she does. She's starched people on the feet. She's choked people out. She's picked up Rose Namajunas and slammed her and all this stuff. Erin Blanchfield did not back down. The second the fight went, she was going at her. She was pressing the action, throwing, not jabbing and kicking and moving. I mean, she'd had moments when she was moving, but like getting her face with combinations, and instantly, 15 seconds of the fight, she said, I'm not here to kiss the ring. I'm not going to bow down. I'm coming at you.
My very first note on this fight, I'm going to hold it up to the screen, see if anyone can see it. Maybe it's too bright, but it says brave approach from Blanchfield. Like, this was a very brave. Who has stood in the pocket with Andrade besides Weili Zhang? And this performance was like,
people who get busted up.
Look what she just did to Lauren Murphy, who was a title challenger, highly ranked in the division. I secretly thought that this was an easier fight over Santos, because I've watched the Valentina Shevchenko fight where Valentina took down Andrade 7 times. And there was a lot of odd similarities between the Molly McCann and Erin Blanchfield fight and the Shevchenko and Andrade fight. I thought she was going to press her wrestling a lot more, but it was the same takedowns that Shevchenko landed too, man. Those body lock trips. She went right into side control, saw that Shevchenko had success there, didn't need the mount of crucifix. The second she gave her back, I mean, Erin Blanchfield is truly cold-blooded, and she's for real. Like, she might be like on the same level as like Chimaev, like the same way we talk about Chimaev. We need to be talking about Blanchfield the same way.
Yeah, I mean, her skills, it's crazy. And the thing that I just keep talking about, she's only 23 years old.
It's ridiculous.
On the feet, that was standing out to me is she's cutting angles when she's attacking. She's changing up her rhythm. She's moving, kind of playing cat and mouse, but which remind me a lot of Andrade's fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, where she's moving in the breaks and then suddenly stopping on a dime and landing combinations. Another thing that Andrade was really struggling with was Blanchfield had this like hands really high guard, and because Andrade throws all hooks, they were deflecting against the arms, and she couldn't get around when you kind of have to throw straight shots. Andrade was really struggling with that too, which was impressive. Yeah. And then as far as the ground game, I don't want this to get overlooked. The takedown that she hit on, I mean, one, we know how strong Andrade is, regardless of what you think about her takedown, is her absolute strength. But she got double underhooks, and then she went with that slick inside trip. That's a high level takedown. That's not like you don't see that. Like you go to wrestling tournaments, and if I see someone going, double underhooks to an inside trip takedown, I'm like, whoa, like this guy's legit.
Yeah,
she hit that, and then you mentioned it. She took her back, and as soon as she jumped on her back, I mean, it was over. Erin Blanchfield, and a lot of people forget this. She was an EBI world champion.
Like, Eddie Bravo. Yeah, multiple times as well, I believe.
At like 20 years old. Like her ground game is as slick as it comes. The thing that amazes, and we didn't even talk about, we didn't see it tonight, but go back her last fight against Molly McCann, like some of the meanest ground and pound.
Oh, the mounted crucifix, just disgusting.
You talked about that for a second. You mentioned that we didn't see that against Andrade. She sets to go for that. Andrade was like, F this.
Yeah, I'm out.
As possible. And it was like, she gave, don't want to pay this devil, but she had to pay that devil.
It's such a deadly attack to where her opponents are going to start fearing her mounted crucifix, causing them to give the back, causing them to make the mistake. This choke was sunk in before any hooks were in. She was so confident when that choke exposed itself. She did what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, and if she put someone else in the crucifix again, I'm changing from like cold-blooded to like the Roman soldiers, the Roman soldier or something like that. She put someone else in the crucifix.
It's such a. She's really good. Like she's a young prodigy. Like this is what a young prodigy looks like. Yeah. She's 23 years old.
I want to put a pause on her for a second because we're going to get into all that stuff. I just want to mention something. Andrade took a huge gamble by taking this fight. Because if you really think about it, who's the number one contender at 115 right now? Like this is the person who's fighting for the title.
She called out Weili Zhang in her last fight and then just got fucking smoked by Erin Blanchfield.
No, but I'm saying like who?
That's bad.
Who is it right now? If you see, go back.
It would have been Andrade.
So go back a week ago, before the Talia Santos fight was announced. Imagine Dev works at the UFC for a second. You're in the room. Dana White's there, and McMahon and all these guys are there, and they say, Dev, we want to book Weili for a title fight in insert month, May. Okay? Dev, who do you think we should get the title shot? Who were you saying? No, a week ago. Before.
Oh, it was Andre. It's not going to be Rose.
No, of course not.
It's not going to be Rose. It's got even, and yeah, it's a win at 125, but I mean, nobody's ever battered Lauren Murphy like that. And Jessica Andrade has such a name. She's fought in 3 different weight classes, had finishes in 3 different weight classes. You pick up the phone and you call Andrade.
And Ben Coley's mentioned Amanda Lemos. That's the answer now. That wasn't the answer a week ago. Because let's not forget, Andrade ran right through Amanda Lemos. Ran right through her, remember?
I went back and watched that fight recently, and that Lemos fight looked really similar to Erin Blanchfield's fight here, where like Lemos got off a lot on the feet in that fight, and then Jessica Andrade did end up running through her, getting that standing weird arm triangle. It could have been either or, and Jessica Andrade was on that list, and Jessica Andrade was just coming off of a real beating, and everybody knows who Andrade is. Like you could give Lemos a title shot, you could give it to Andrade.
Let me ask you this other question. Say Santos didn't get hurt. Santos fought Erin Blanchfield tonight. Blanchfield wins, but say it's like a back and forth, nothing spectacular. Valentina Shevchenko, we'll just say hypothetically, she beats Alexa Grasso. Who are you, the UFC? Who are you calling for the title shot there?
It would have been Andrade, especially off the Lauren Murphy. Yeah, like she risked
everything. She risked a title shot in either division. I thought we were going to start this card off saying, "Hey, which division do we want her fighting at? Which division is she challenging the title for?" Because when I watch the card, I think of I'm trying to think of what we're going to talk about, and that was obviously one of the big topics.
Yeah.
I was thinking about. So she put this huge risk, and now she gained nothing.
And you can tell by the way, once Blanchfield started landing on her, after maybe like the third exchange on the feet, you could see Jessica Andrade's face change. Jessica Andrade looks like she underestimated Blanchfield. They picked up the phone. Said Blanchfield. Jessica Andrade said, "Who? Fuck it, sign me up."
Yeah, she might have. She might have. She might look at the rankings, look at someone lower than the girls she's beaten, lower than Lauren Murphy, lower than Caitlin Chikagian, coming off a win over Molly McCann. Yeah, it was an incredible beatdown, but it was still Molly McCann. The whole Patty and that pump and all that. Oh, she was, she's friendly with Connor too, getting advice with Connor and having Bleacher Report guys following her, Barstool guys following around, and all this big hype. But everyone's watched fighting really knows that Molly McCann was a mid-card talent, who had a nice, beautiful run. So even though Erin Blanchfield ran through her and she looked amazing, it was still pump the brakes a little bit, Not the case anymore. Now I'm asking you this. I'm going to ask you this question. Besides, obviously, Bo Nickel, because that's obviously the answer.
There's one.
Is she the best prospect in MMA regardless of gender? And if not, who is?
You can't call Hamzat a prospect anymore, but that's what she reminds me of.
How old is Hamzat?
Oh, 27, maybe 28.
Yeah, she's a little bit older.
But he's no longer a prospect anymore. We know where we're at with him.
Well, let me ask you this: is she a prospect? I mean, she's probably the number one contender now.
She was up until about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So
who's think about this. All right, I don't know. Do you play fantasy sports at all?
I only MMA and combat sports are my only sport. Sorry.
All right. Well, let me explain something to you. So
fishing
in fantasy, what fantasy football is.
Sure. 100%.
Fantasy baseball. I'm sure a lot of our listeners do. All the Europeans right now saying, "What the fuck are you talking about?" There's certain leagues. There's leagues that are called redraft leagues. So a redraft league means basically the league is new every year. Every single player gets drafted to. It's you and your buddies get together. You draft players. You score points. Whatever. It's not a new concept. I'm sure have an idea how it works.
Sure.
Okay. There's a whole different types of leagues, but another popular league is called Dynasty League. And the way a Dynasty League works is I play in a Dynasty League in baseball. And the way a Dynasty League works, you keep a player forever. So young players have a lot more value, even though a certain player right now might be better than a younger player. The younger player might have more value because they're younger and you have it for longer. For example, let me think of an MMA, how it would work. But just in general, an older veteran who's still top guys, like a Glover Teixeira. Obviously, he's retiring, but you wouldn't draft him high because he has 1 or 2 fights and he's gone. You'd rather have the Jamal Hill younger kind of, and even Jamal Hill's up there, but Erin Blanchfield, if you were doing a draft, and again, not the best example, but if we were drafting and you were starting an MMA organization, all the top MMA organizations were getting together. Bellator, UFC, One Championship, PFL, they all had picks. Everybody in every league is available. How many people are you picking before you take Erin Blanchfield? Because she's 23.
An hour ago,
this is now. I want you to understand. You're locking up forever. So I'm locking up forever. It's not I get 3 fights, whatever. You're locking up forever. How many people are you picking before?
An hour ago, maybe a couple. Right now, none.
Yeah, I don't know.
She is.
I don't know. Like Shmaev, maybe because he's 27, he's very extremely remarkable, extremely talented. He's still very young.
Sure. And we're talking
that's
about Khamzat Chimaev right now.
Yeah,
Like,
we're not doing a fantasy. We're not doing a fantasy draft on the fly right now, especially with the guy who doesn't follow the sports. But you get my point.
Yeah.
Like two fights ago, when she was fighting Molly McCann, I was saying it was a mistake. Not for Erin Blanchfield, from McCann. I was saying, if you're the UFC, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get McCann murdered. Why kill that? Why kill that? Because you have a market going on with her and just keep having her fight tomato cans and use her. I had no idea that this was what's going to happen, and now it's been a brilliant move. They used the success off of McCann to Erin Blanchfield. Blanchfield then went on to have incredible success in continuing, which is incredible.
Good on the UFC for this was a leap, but she had her JJ Aldrich fight, and those are the fights that people like Blanchfield needed. If you only watched the JJ Aldrich fight of Erin Blanchfield and then watched this fight tonight, the improvements
is incredible.
She's 23. She's going to be.
She was losing on the feet to JJ Aldrich. First of all, I'm going to stop you a second. I don't know if this is true, but if this is true, Pixel Fireplace is claiming that Blanchfield's his or her cousin. If that's cool, that's very cool. Congratulations to your family. So anyways, carry on.
And I've been on the Erin Blanchfield train, so this feels good to me. Finally, where I'm damn.
I didn't like that I picked Andrade over her. I picked Andrade on the preview, but I didn't like it. I interviewed Erin Blanchfield years ago, and she's a sweetheart, and I've been saying she's incredible. And then even the ceiling that I put her at, she's top. Who runs through Jessica Andrade like that? Nobody.
The only people, if you look who's beat Jessica Andrade, Valentina Shevchenko, maybe the best women's fighter ever, was Zhang Weili. Could be talked about that. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, one of the best women's fighters. Those are the people that are beating. And Rose, another.
And a lot of people believe that Rose Namajunas should have lost that rematch. It could have went either way. That's the whole point is. Rose Namajunas beat her, and it was a toss-up fight that could have went either way.
And the only difference between all of those women and Blanchfield is all of them have touched gold, and Blanchfield has never touched gold. So that should probably tell you something about her future.
Yeah. And I want to make this. I'm not a fan of. I try not to be a fan as a media member. I definitely. There's some people I like being right. So I'm a fan of myself. So if I pump somebody, I kind of root for that. But I always root for the story. So there I was. I always watch MMA the same way. Not always, but if I don't have friends over, I usually watch on my computer. I have a big TV downstairs. I don't go downstairs. I sit in my bed. I put a computer on my lap. I have a notebook next to me. Actually, I have two computers. I use one for my streaming for this, and I'm doing stuff. And then I have one computer that I'm actually watching the event and taking notes. And I do it old school into a notebook. And I'm sitting there next. My wife sits down and just watches just the main event. And she goes, "Who do you want to win?" And I said, "Well, I picked Andrade to win, but the better story to talk about is if Blanchfield wins." And that's what I always root for, the better story to talk about for this show. Because if Andrade won, we've talked about her fighting Weili Zhang or Valentina Shevchenko. It's the new kid on the block, just kicked in the door. I love this. I love this right now.
So, I cannot consider myself part of the MMA media. I do the show with you guys a lot, but that's the most I do now. I don't have my own podcast anymore, so I can be a fan. I'm a huge Erin Blanchfield fan, and I did not expect this, man. I expected her to maybe get a couple grappling exchanges, maybe win a couple in grappling exchanges. Jessica Andrade just having brute force and just being willing to stay in the pocket like she did against Murphy and hit Blanchfield with big shots. I'm happy that it didn't happen that way, though. This was so impressive for me. I love watching somebody You know, I love watching these fighters grow, and God, the difference between that JJ Aldrich fight and tonight, it's just crazy. But it's ridiculous.
To wrap up that's what happens when you're young. She fought JJ Aldrich when she was what, 22, 21,
yeah.
22? That's what happens. You have moments like that when you're 22, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, look what happened. RC Kim obviously giving me a hard time who would win between Blanchfield and Bo Nickel. More important question, and we have Pixel Fireplace, the cousin of Erin Blanchfield here. Listen, I think Erin has a boyfriend or something like that. Break them up, hook up Erin with Bo Nickel. Let's have them have a kid. That kid is probably bringing world peace.
And if not,
Erin Blanchfield and Bo Nickel's kid would bring world peace. Anyways, so I want to ask this question because the last time I was this excited about a 23-year-old, and I'm not. This is not a fair comparison. It's the comparison, and I want to make this very clear. And obviously, I'm being from New England, I'm extremely biased, and you'll have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But the Patrick Mahomes just won a second Super Bowl. I already ranted on that last week, but idiots are comparing him to Tom Brady. Okay. I see the potential there, obviously, but
sure.
A long way to go. I'm not even saying at this point she's John Jones. But John Jones won a UFC title at 23 years old, and he was special. I remember calling, and you can go back to the old tapes, and Jordan Breen still gives you credit to this day. When John Jones made his UFC debut, I saw him fighting on the local scene here. And you guys know how I feel about the local scene here. Like, I'm usually John Jones was the first guy I go, holy shit, who is this guy? This guy's going to be amazing. She has that feel. Now, I'm not saying she's John Jones. I think John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time. Okay, and shout out would be previewing that. Doing tape study right now for his fight against Sherdog. Me and Ben will be taping that Wednesday. Anyways, am I living in the moment a little too much?
You may get criticized for living in the moment too much, but like, I'm right there with you, man. Like, I texted you and I was like, "Oh, I'm happy now." Right after that fight ended, I will live in the moment. The thing is, I think, you know, when you've been watching this and doing things like we do for so long, you know, you can see that you can see the athlete, and then you're like, almost the competition doesn't matter. Like, you know, what Hamzat did to Reese McKee, for example, compared to the Leech, like the difference between those two guys is leaps and bounds, but the fight didn't look any different, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's kind of what I'm getting from Blanchfield now, to where I don't like, we're just putting bodies in front of her at this point. And the difference between the bodies is there's a big difference between Molly McCann and Jessica Andrade, but that fight didn't look any different.
Yeah, I think the Molly McCann fight lasted longer. I'm not sure. Think about this for a second. We're all going crazy for Chimaev. We're all saying, you know, this guy could win a title at both welterweight and middleweight, and you know, his first real test was Gilbert Burns, and it was a back and forth war.
This didn't look like that.
Erin Blanchfield, Gilbert Burns is Jessica Andrade. That short Brazilian who throws bombs, who can also slam
a marauder.
Yeah, like the only difference between Gilbert Burns and Jessica Andrade is the genitalia. Like,
yeah, you're not wrong.
Obviously, I'm being facetious, but you get my point. The first test. Imagine if Chimaev did to Gilbert Burns what Erin Blanchfield did tonight to Jessica Andrade.
And you could argue that Jessica Andrade is a better fighter than Gilbert Burns based off of her accolades. You know, fought for multiple, you know, so I mean, it's welterweight is men's welterweight's also very different skill wise, but I won't go down that road. I just have to loop back to the only people that have done this to Andrade are people that have wore gold belts, and are people that we talk about like being the greatest ever, you know, from that area. Just incredible.
Yeah. RC Kim just made a question, and I can't think of one. He asked, has any female fighter beaten someone as good as Andrade so early in their career? So people have obviously beaten someone that good, but at this point, like you go through the greats, Amanda Nunes, early losses. Valentina Shevchenko obviously had the Amanda Nunes and all this. They're all older, obviously much older. Like, who has had a win this good at this young? I mean, I'm sure there's a historian here that I'm not thinking of.
Sure.
Tell me. I can't think of one.
No. And it's bizarre. Like, it's really like you got to be shocked. And when you look at the way that she beat her too, like, yeah, people have beat her on the feet. Valentina, beat her grappling, but like she kind of beat Andrade everywhere in this fight. And yeah, Joanny on Jacek. Like,
Andrade had a lot of moments on the feet.
She did. She totally did. I swear the first.
But what I think what happens is because we didn't expect it in that area, seems like she wins. Like I always tell everyone, anybody who ever says, Augustin beat John Jones, I go, rewatch the fight and you tell me, you score me 3 rounds, you won. It's not there. It's just at that time we didn't expect it. It's like the another perfect example, George St. Pierre versus Johnny Hendricks. I actually still think Johnny Hendricks won, but my point is everyone's like, oh, it's the biggest robbery ever. It's like rewatch that fight. It's extremely close. It could go either way.
Yeah.
But nobody was expecting Hendricks to have that. So no one was expecting Blanchfield to have this much success on the feet with Andrade, where it seems like we're talking about like she just was like, it looked like Israel Adesanya piecing up or Anderson Silva piecing up Chris Lieben. Like it wasn't that.
Not at all, but at the same time, the way that you could see when Jessica Andrade, when I watch these striking exchanges, I always look at the person's face who's absorbing the strike to see if they liked it or not. Blanchfield took shots from Andrade and her face didn't change. She wasn't worried. She
1 second.
There was one moment where she tried to circle out to the right and Andrade leaped in with a couple leaping hooks like she does to cut the corner. And she hit Andrade. Andrade hit her with 2 clean leaping left hooks. And she just ate them, cut the angle, planted down, and threw a jab cross, and then pop, you'd watch Andrade's head snap back. Yeah. And I just, when I'll go back and watch this fight, watch Andrade's face when she was getting her head snapped back just from jabs and crosses. And you could tell that she was just like, holy shit, I did not expect this. I don't think she expected this at all.
Yeah, and my whole point about the stand-up being close is that it wasn't supposed to be close, and something that we thought might be a weakness of Erin Blanchfield is not. And if she is an upper echelon striker, if she can even hang with someone like Jessica Andrade on the feet with that ground game, like holy smoke.
Yeah, we're talking about her striking just because it's shown such a vast improvement, but her grappling, I mean, before this fight, who would you have said has the best grappling at 125?
I would have said her.
And
now it's not even a debate.
And next,
Shevchenko, but
Shevchenko
after the Santos, I'm going to put a little pause on it. Let's talk about the Santos and the Shevchenko because I really think I really don't think that was Valentina Shevchenko that we saw. Like we've seen her be amazing on the ground. For her to be taken down and held down is really surprising. Now, Santos obviously is known for grappling, really good grappler. She's bigger, but
she's big.
But I want to do this for a second. No, this is the terrible part. If someone jumps into our preview, our recap right now, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" Okay, but they didn't hear us just like going crazy about Erin Blanchfield for the last 20 minutes. But I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna flip it for 1 second. Something I never do. Let's be the asshole on Twitter. Let's be that Mr. Negative on Twitter. You know what the argument's gonna be against Erin Blanchfield? Oh, yeah. Well, she beat up a freaking strawweight. Oh, big deal. She took down a strawweight. She muscled a strawweight. What's going to happen when she goes against Valentina Shevchenko, who's not that small? She's not going to take her down and hold her down.
I'm going to tell you, I bet you Jessica Andrade get deadlift more than every single woman at 115 at 125.
Yeah. No, you know the argument. She beat. And then here's the other argument. Well, yeah, Jessica Andrade took it on a week's notice.
Yeah,
she wasn't in shape. That's not her. That's why she wasn't hitting hard. She wasn't in shape. She wasn't like whatever. I'm trying to. I'm not. It's like I'm a defense lawyer,
sure,
with a guilty client, and I'm just
You're just playing devil's advocate. You're throwing shit at the wall, man.
Yeah. See. All right.
Well,
Let's
my
talk
response
about,
would be just don't pick up the phone. If
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Jessica Andrade, don't pick up the phone.
You take a risk, but yeah. Um, yeah. And RC Kim just made a good point that Jessica Andrade has been competitive at 135. That's right. You know, other
With
than
finishes.
yeah, other than Larissa Pacheco and Kayla Harrison, she'd be successful at 155. Like she'd be more competitive than the girls in the PFL at 155. Anyways, let's just do this for the sake of argument. Let's say Alexa Grasso loses to Valentina Shevchenko. Unless you really want to get into Alexa Grasso, let's just say, I mean, is that okay?
What are the odds of there being 3 simultaneous Mexican champions on the UFC? What are the odds of there being 3 simultaneous Mexican champions in the UFC?
Oh man, who knows? But let's just say that.
Okay.
Is Erin Blanchfield the biggest threat to Valentina Shevchenko?
Based off of Santos's performance and Blanchfield's ability to just stay tough in bad moments against Andrade, I could seriously see Blanchfield staying tough, getting body lock takedowns. And if Blanchfield gets that same triangle from the back that Santos had so much control with,
that's probably a wrap.
Probably, right? So when I see that.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say this, and again, I just to answer my own question, I say yes. I think she absolutely is the biggest threat to.
She's got to be
right now. That said, Santos is big for the weight class. Like Blanchfield she's not a big woman. She's not small. I've met her a couple times.
Santos is like an athlete. Like you can tell she's like an explosive athlete.
She's bigger. She's older. She's obviously more matured. But I want to remind people, and yeah, I agree that Santos is bigger and probably stronger. If they went in the gym and bench press, she probably can bench press more than Erin Blanchfield. But that's 20. I don't know when her birthday is, but that's 23. Say today was her birthday. That's 23-year-old Erin Blanchfield. That's not 23-year-old and 6-month Erin Blanchfield or 24-year-old Erin Blanchfield. You know what I'm saying? She's at the age where they jump in improvements like,
oh my gosh, it's
huge. And power starts coming. She's not even in the power years yet.
And I think Santos was the hardest fight for Blanchfield in the whole division, just with the games that match up, because both of them are BJJ players. Like that's what they like to do.
That's not counting Shevchenko, though. Correct?
That's not counting Shevchenko. But even after tonight, I still might think Santos is a harder fight game planning wise, like just matchup versus matchup than Shevchenko. Just with the grappling success Santos had against Shevchenko, I could totally see Blanchfield replicating it. I do. Pixel Fireplace said he's commented here, because Talia was wishy-washy with negotiations for weeks. They notified Andrade, and Andrade had 2+ weeks in advance to know about this fight.
Okay.
And if he's her cousin, I'm not gonna take it as gospel, but I read it.
Regardless, Andrade took the fight and lost.
Yeah.
RC Kim, I was more talking about how Santos kept Shevchenko down, not necessarily how Blanchfield took down Andrade tonight. Besides it being leverage, it was also beautiful technique. An inside trip is beautiful, beautiful technique. It's hard stuff.
Henry Cejudo hits that on people. Yeah, that's what he was hitting on DJ.
Yeah,
like that level.
Yes.
Like chef's kiss. That's like the way that you have to get the underhooks, cut the angle, and get the trip all within like one simultaneous motion. Like it takes a lot. Like that's something that you don't just pick that up. Like that's drilling. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You could tell she's put in a lot of time.
So the mystery, and guys, we're spending a lot more on the main event because let's be honest, guys, the rest of this card is like when it comes to rankings and the rest of the card sucks. Okay, so that's why we're spending a little bit more time on this than we will. We're gonna breeze through the rest of the fights, except for one moment. You'll know that when that moment comes. All right. She's only 23, so I know I keep saying that like a broken record.
No, but it's crazy. Like, it's just crazy. She's 23. What were you doing at 23? Like,
Wow.
what was I doing at 23? Not this.
Yeah. I already fought in a war. Anyways, Erin Blanchfield's only 23. There's no reason to rush her.
No.
That said, should she call for a title fight? Again, whatever. We'll just say Shevchenko or Alexa Grasso, the winner. Should she be fighting for the title? Should she be fighting that person, whoever wins that fight, 2 weeks from now? Yes or no?
Yeah, why not?
I say why not too.
Why not?
Well, it could be rushing her. That's okay.
Yeah, because
she could come back and fight for the title 2 more years later.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I didn't look at this. I don't know what the timeline is. I know John Jones won the title at 23. She's 23. Like, how many days? How many? I don't know. Don't care. The whole point is you can market this as like, imagine if she does win. 23 years old. Now, it's not fair to put you on the line like this because we don't know what Shevchenko is going to do. But hypothetically, I mean, Shevchenko is a huge favorite against Grasso. We'll say that she wins. What's the betting line between her and Blanchfield? Again, I know that's not fair because you don't know how good Shevchenko looks against Grasso. So I understand that, but just if you had to guess right now.
Yeah, like if they minus 400 for Shevchenko.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Minus 450. Which is like, okay, she's been minus 1,200 against a lot of the other challengers.
Yeah, which is like a pick'em in Shevchenko's world.
Yeah.
Again, that's Ben's thing is checking the odds. I don't even know what the odds are. I'm just assuming that Shevchenko is a big favorite versus.
It's probably double, minus 800 against Grasso, probably.
Based on her last performance, again, I have no idea, but based on her last performance, it might not be that big. All right, let's go to Andrade real quick. Matchmaker Andrade for me. You can do it. You can do 115. You can do 125. You tell me. And who would it be?
It's.
And I'm gonna pause you real quick. Sorry, I know I interrupt. I'm terrible at that.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I do it all the time. I do it to Ben all the time. I'm the worst at it. I ask a question that I interrupt. Throw it out to the chat. You guys tell. So Dev is saying title shot. I'm saying title shot. You put out in the chat, and I'll throw it up there, and then I'll ask you for Andrade next. Who would you match make Erin Blanchfield? Again, this is the way we do it. Is nobody can say no. So C. Ray is doing the Santos fight. You tell me who Blanchfield should fight next.
Me, Blanchfield. I mean, I give her the title shot. Just like we were saying, if she's as good as we think she is, then she can beat off all challengers. All it takes is. Say she goes and fights Shevchenko, loses, but then goes and beats Atala Santos. She just throw right back in there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to rush her. Yeah,
there's
I think we've seen 23-year-olds or people get rushed to title shots, but they weren't ready, and we obviously won't know if she's ready or not. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that she wins that fight. Being that she has this good of a threat right now, she's the most marketable because of her age. Because she has this like sweet girl, but also like confidently, even the way she called out the title, like it was like super. Like I'm super confident I'm going to win, but like not cocky at all.
She speaks like things are facts.
Yeah, like I should fight for the title next, and I'm going to win. I just loved it. Her delivery was perfect.
It's kind of the same way Habib used to say things in a
exactly.
Where like he would just say things as facts, and for him they got proven as facts. We'll see if Erin Blanchfield can do the same thing. I listened to an interview that she did during I forget who it was from, but it was about the Santos fight, and she just seemed so nonchalant where like she just knew she was going to beat Santos. They put her up against Andrade, and she had an Instagram post the night that this fight got announced last week, and it was just something simple that was like opponent change, same outcome, and it's like she knew it. It's just the confidence level is just God. And why can't she beat Shevchenko? Why not? I mean, give me a reason. Like, give me a reason. Tell me who's going to has a better chance at beating Shevchenko in that division right now.
Nobody. I mean, we all love Manon Farrell, but no. It's the biggest threat right now is Erin Blanchfield, including Alexa Grasso, who's fighting her 2 weeks from now. Bobby Boucher made a good point that if Grasso wins, there's probably a very good chance
100%
that Shevchenko gets an automatic rematch. Fair enough. She's been the champion long enough. Fair enough. But if she doesn't, Andrade, what are you doing with Andrade? And we'll throw that out. We'll throw that out to the rest of the chat. Bobby Boucher just asked me thoughts on Blanchfield versus Manon Farrell. I don't want them to face each other because with Shevchenko being the champion and being the champion for a long time, there's not too many people she hasn't faced. I don't want the two people, the two, if we were ranking threats, besides Grasso's fighting the title, the next two are Blanchfield and Manon Farrell. I don't want them fighting each other because, okay, then Shevchenko faces the winner of that one, and say Shevchenko wins, then what? Yeah. Now she's going to the rematches again. But I'm sorry, I keep asking you for Andrade and keep cutting you off. So
it's okay. I know, and I actually want to say one more thing about that is if there is if Grasso does beat Shevchenko, some way, and they do go on that, the road that they have to go down, because there will be a rematch for sure if that happens. You need to give Blanchfield a contender, but a winnable fight, like the most winnable contender fight. So maybe give her someone like Chikagian if you really think that she's the star that she is and you want her to be around the title picture. You give her someone that you think that she can just beat up really quickly in a main event. You know what I mean?
Now that I'm thinking about it, the division is a lot more exciting than it's been in a long time because you figure you have Grasso next week. She's never challenged. You have Santos, who a lot of people believe beat Valentina Shevchenko. A lot of people. Erin Blanchfield, who's the hottest one. And then you still have Manon Farrell. So actually, there might be more challenges right now than ever has been in a long time.
Well, yeah, and Tatiana Suarez is about to be fighting Montana De La Rosa.
Is coming back, and who knows how that's going to look.
Yeah, if it looks the way it looked before, it's going to look real good. If it's, with Andrade, man, what do you do? Because what do you book her against Chikagian again? So she just does the same thing. Maybe.
I'm going way extreme, dude. I'm going way extreme because
I don't even. What do you do?
Chance. You take a chance. People are gonna hate this matchup. Just so you record, people are gonna hate this matchup. You take a chance at the title. Take a chance at Blanchfield. You lose the title, so you don't get a title at either shot. And then I start looking down 115, and she's fought everybody.
Everyone
who's already, other than, and she's fought the champion too. I'm giving. Ready? You're gonna hate this. I'm giving a Loma Labumi. That's who I'm having Jessica Andrade fight next.
Or like Mackenzie Dern.
Mackenzie Dern's coming off a loss. I don't think she deserves it. And that's like a step up in competition for Dern.
Yeah. You got to give her something you think she can win, right? If you still care about her.
No, absolutely. And she could definitely beat Labumi.
Or you give her someone who's meddling around at 125,
Angela Hill again? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, 125?
Yeah, 125. Like, who's metal? Just so she doesn't have to cut weight, because clearly she's not fighting for a title now. Furo could be fun.
I'm giving Alan saying, why am I doing this? I'm giving Labumi's a threat. Based on her striking, she's a threat against Andrade. I mean, I think Andrade would probably take it out and slam her, but Loma's ground game has come a long way. Middling at 125, where's too bad there's not a Jessica I around anymore.
Oh God, Cynthia Calvillo again.
She already beat up Lauren Murphy, but
remember she knocked out. Yeah,
Andrew Lee maybe.
Oh God, just Andrew Lee's corner in that fight. I would not want to see what they've got to say. I don't know what you do with her. Would you be surprised if she just went on a bad skid now either?
No, I mean, she's up there in age. That's one thing that's always been about her. She's up there in age. She's someone who depends on power, depends on
durability,
being an elite athlete. She's not the most technical. She's not technical at all. That those skills that she has can go away overnight. Not the power, but everything else. The speed, the output.
Yeah. Especially the durability and the cardio. If her cardio because Jessica Andrade, for someone with her style and body type, has extremely good cardio. It's very surprising. But like if that cardio falls off, if she loses 30% of her cardiovascular ability, she's fucked. Because the durability is going to go right with it. And I mean, she got staggered tonight by Blanchfield, who is not known to be a power puncher. Jessica Andrade does run onto shots, and Blanchfield was throwing very straight. Everything was nice and straight. And how efficient of a performance from Blanchfield too. That word needs to be said. Like it was perfect. Efficient and brave.
Brave, yeah, it was absolutely perfect. All right, so you threw a whole bunch of names at me. Give me one name for Jessica Andrade. I give you one. Give me one.
I'll say if Tatiana Suarez does beat Montana De La Rosa, I think that's probably a good fight to make to see where Tatiana's at.
Okay, there you go. Wow. All right, moving on. Jordan Wright versus Zach Puaga. Fight was not that exciting. It picked up in the third round, but before that was kind of boring. I want to shout out to Tom Feely, who's a writer for Sherdog. He does a very similar show that me and Ben does. He does a preview, but it's written. So if you like to read, you can read his breakdown every single week on the previews. They actually put mine and Ben's pick in there too, so you actually see who all three of us are picking. Mine and Ben's come out earlier in the week, but if you prefer to read, and he's really good. But I love what he tweeted out. He says it takes real skill by Puaga to make Jordan Wright look boring, considering he's never been to a decision until tonight. As Puaga won a unanimous decision. It was a really smart strategy. Close the distance, lean on him, dirty box. It was a football game where they just keep running the ball and it's working, and it's kind of boring. That's what happened.
Well, you said football game, and I think that's a really great segue into the fact that all of a sudden the UFC is talking about how Zach Palmga is a ex-fullback for the Texans, ex-NFL star or ex-NFL player. Fullback. So now we know why he
boring position there is.
And did he even play one game?
I have no idea.
You know what I mean? Seventh string.
He might have, but he played fullback. The most boring position. Grinding, same thing. He's not scoring touchdowns. Or the guy who blocking for the running back. Yeah.
But when the UFC,
I have nothing to say about this fight.
No, when the UFC puts you against Jordan Wright, when they make him come up a weight class, puts you against Jordan Wright, puts you on a co-main event, starts talking about football and how you have some sort of relation to football. That means that they're trying to draw in that any other fan base that they can, because we're already here. We don't give a fuck about NFL. We're here watching the fights. So they're trying to draw in.
Well, I honestly, I think they're just trying to talk because
they got nothing else to say.
They got nothing else to say. There's no personality. One thing I'll say this, which could have happened, why it became such a boring fight. His last fight, he got knocked out cold by Muhammad Usman, Kamaru Usman's younger but much bigger brother.
Yeah.
So that might be why he wasn't willing to slug it out.
Oh yeah,
because of that. I mean, you get knocked out cold.
Your first loss,
UFC debut. Yeah.
I wrote down in my notes here that this was a classic MMA overcorrection by a guy that's never been knocked the fuck out before, and that comes and just has a completely different game in their next fight, where he was dinging Jordan Wright up on the feet and then just chose to be in the clinch with him. Jordan Wright's actually known to be pretty good in the clinch, so I was kind of surprised.
I put it in my notes,
to see and it's weird because Pounga looked like the middleweight coming up to 205. He looks a lot smaller than Jordan Wright in this fight. I'm not saying he wasn't the stronger guy or the faster guy either, but I mean, I feel like Pounga could go down to 85. I wasn't impressed by this. I feel like the UFC wanted him to go out there and just knock Jordan right out, like anyone else that beat him has.
I think they just wanted a knockout in general, or something exciting, because that's usually what happens with Jordan Wright. I think that's why that was the co-main event. I don't know if they really they're putting big stock in Puaga. I mean, he didn't win the show.
No,
I think that's the reason they thought it'd be spectacular fun. like they normally look. But let's move on because
it just wasn't.
get to the people's main event has been the fight that people want. Oh no, that was the sorry, that was Puaga versus Ray. Another one. Josh Parisian taking on Jamal Pugs. I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong. Pogues. I'm sorry.
Pukes.
I give Josh Parisian a lot of credit. He tried to back up what he said was going to happen. He said, I'm going to press the action. He's going to take me down a couple times. I'm going to get back up. I'm going to stay in his face. And the third round, he's going to crumble. He tried that, and he did everything. The problem is if you want to be a pressure guy and use your output to beat a guy, as he was trying, you got to be able to stop a takedown. You can pressure all you want. If you're walking right into takedowns, it doesn't matter. And that basically sums up this fight.
Yeah.
He's missing the one piece to that game plan.
Doesn't Pogues kind of look like a light heavyweight that just said "fuck it"?
Yeah. But you know what? A lot of guys have been successful like doing that.
Yeah, look at Gelson Almeida. Well, no, Gelson Almeida's in shape still.
Yeah.
Pogues is a shape, round. He's, how many different outfits does he have because of his fluctuating body weight? Like he has like a light heavyweight closet and then a heavyweight closet,
Yeah.
because he
I'm gonna say something right now to be serious for a second, and this is gonna surprise a lot of people. So I think Pogues has pretty good speed, but he can wrestle.
His entries are good. They're fast.
He had a couple drive through the hips. He had a couple get it in, body lock, back trip like a bunch of times. If you can wrestle at heavyweight, you're going to be way more successful than people think you will.
Look at Sergey Spivak, man, and you can mitigate damage.
I think he could be a top 15 guy. I'm not saying he's going to fight for the title, a headliner, but I don't know if he's as good as Spivak, but he's like that could be him. That's his ceiling.
If he builds a single leg takedown game, like an actual chain wrestling where Parisian, there was moments where Parisian would stuff the initial takedown, they would get against the cage. And if he would have just shifted to a single, like if you can get a single leg takedown game as a UFC heavyweight, like you're going to be crushing dudes. And he's got fast entries. He seems athletic. You could definitely tell he's a blown up light heavyweight. There was moments too where if he would have just remained on the feet and maybe just did some pivot counter punching when Parisian was just marching forward, he seemed to be the faster and harder punching guy. I think the small octagon. I think the small octagon really aided Parisian with his game. Like Parisian's game is to just run at you and make things a mess. Like he doesn't really have a game, like just volume and make things messy, and hopefully he can win 3 out of 5 messy exchanges, and that's how Parisian wins fights. Parisian's also one of the bigger heavyweights. Like he's a big dude. He's a fairly large guy. Like I could totally see Pogues doing things. Look at Gelson Almeida's game.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's that high, but my point is
he's wrestling at heavyweight.
He's wrestling at heavyweight, which would go a lot further. When you just watch the guy, you go, there's nothing there. But that division, it can go a long way. And I think he's going to surprise people. Like, I don't know who he's fighting next, but I'm probably picking him. Within reason. I'm sure they're not going up much higher. I don't think there's anything else to talk about that fight. Let's move on. Again, we're gonna breeze through these prelims. This next fight, Dev, you can take a couple minutes off if you want. I have a lot to say. As William Knight took on Martin Prachnio winning by unanimous decision. I'll say this about Prachnio. Prachnio had a fantastic, safe of a game plan you can to get a victory. Why put yourself in danger if you can just kick a guy's leg and he's going to do absolutely nothing? Just stand there getting kicked. Okay. Let me talk about William Knight for a second. I'm from New England, and I've seen William Knight in person probably a dozen times, 15 times. He's always at the local fights if I'm there. He's a super nice guy. He's a very imposing person when he walks in a room because you don't see people built like Knight every day. He walks in, he's freaking 5'9", but he's like more wide than he is tall. He's got freaking arms that are like twice the size of my waist. I mean, the guy's humongous, biggest legs in the world. Big smile on when he's on the, at the fights. Nice to everybody. William Knight could take my head and like crush it. Like he could go like the mountain and
physically.
And yeah, he could grab my head like Game of Thrones and crush it with his hands. Okay.
Yeah.
That said, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what the fuck? You're like, have some pride, dude. You're in the UFC. You're fighting on ESPN.
He wasn't fighting, Keith.
Well, whatever. You're scheduled to fight on ESPN. And all you got to do is stand there and let the guy kick your leg. No, understand. I understand that leg kicks are hurt. It sucks. You can't step. Your body's shutting down. Like, I get that. Like, trust me. Like, I get it. It sucks. But Jesus Christ, dude, you just so your answer is I'm just gonna stand there and let him kick. I'm not gonna charge forward. I'm not gonna try to close the distance. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm just gonna stand there. In the first round, I'm gonna stand in the center of the cage. And then, okay, I go to my corner for the second round, and my adjustment is, okay, I'm going to adjust. Let me back up to the cage and get kicked. Like, that's my adjustment. Just to stand near the cage while he kicks me. New England MMA sucks. I want it to be good. It is terrible. If you break down the regions in America, New England MMA has the worst MMA in America. There's people are like nobody's good. Calvin Kattar's good. Rob Font's good. Everybody else sucks. Everybody else sucks in New England. Hold on, within a scale. All right.
Sure.
Hold on a second. All right. That's not true. Not everybody sucks. So I take that back. So don't go back. I take that back. I'm.
You're being disowned currently.
Yeah, it's like when you're getting in a fight and you start like over exaggerate what you mean. Okay.
Sure.
Let me take that back. But the dude landed, guess how many head strikes he landed in 15 minutes?
None.
0. He didn't land a single head strike in a 15-minute fight. How is that possible? How is that possible? You're in the UFC, you don't land one punch to the head in 15 minutes? Like, what are we doing? His corner is screaming at him. At one point, they don't give him, like, technical advice. They stop saying, like, hey, left jab, hey, slip.
Oh, no, there's no technical advice at that point.
They get to the point and they just, like, throw punches. Throw back. Don't just stand there and get hit. Like, try to hit him back, they're saying. Like, what are you – his corner's screaming. I'm like, basically, I feel so bad for his one – like, the loudest corner man who's, like, screaming like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Why are you here? You're standing getting kicked for no reason. It was, there's more defense in the fucking slap league, Dana's slap league than this shit that he was doing. Like, what are you doing, man? Honestly, he probably is perfect for the Dana White slap league. Now I'm thinking about it.
He would be perfect for that probably because number one, he didn't just lose his fight, but he's no longer going to be on the UFC roster. Go ahead and follow UFC Roster Watch. I think whenever they do their cuttings next, he's gone. He's gone. He's not on my cut list. He's not on your cut list. He's going to be on the UFC's cut list.
Oh, so listen,
he's done. That wasn't a fight. You can't show up like that. You can't do that.
If you didn't watch the fight, for some reason you're looking at this, I want you to watch 1 minute of the fight, just 1 minute. Go to the last minute of the third round. Just go to the last minute of the third round. And what you missed is before that is his corner losing their mind, screaming at the guy, like trying, and then finally just go, fuck it. They just said, fuck it. And it's sat there and watched. And they just stopped telling him what to do because they're like, he's not going to do anything. And then it hits the 10-second marker. Click, click, click. It's 10 seconds going off, and he just looks at the guy, knowing that you need to knock this guy out to win, and he wasn't even willing to throw it. You're William Knight. You're built like a fucking superhero.
Yeah.
Like if they redo the Fantastic Four movie, you could be the Rock guy. I don't know the name of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Like you could be
Yeah.
that guy, or the Hulk. You could be the Hulk. Like you're built like the fucking Incredible Hulk, dude.
Yeah, he's
And it's 10 times you don't even throw a fucking punch. What are you doing? I'm sorry to be swearing this much, guys.
no, it's like if okay, so if I was your coach, Keith, and you were my student, and you flew me from wherever the fuck, if you flew me from New England to Vegas, and you did that, we would be flying home on different planes because I would be fucking livid. I would be livid. I would be livid. We're not going into the same hotel room tonight because I'm going to tell you things you're not going to want to hear.
I can't imagine being in his corner. What do you say to him afterwards? This is your boy. You just trained 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is.
You made me get on a plane and you flew me to Vegas. You didn't show up. You're wasting my fucking time.
All I'm thinking about if I'm his corner is thank God he didn't fight in the Australia card last week.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And what do you do? This was like, I mean, is this the worst performance in UFC history? I know that's like
there's a Caleb Starnes moment where he purposely was mad at the UFC. He was throwing something really stupid. He was like purposely throwing the fight and everything against Nate.
Does he just not want to be an MMA fighter anymore? Was this the last fight on his? Was this just the last fight on his? Because here's the thing: is why do you make 205 then? If you don't give a fuck, why are you cutting weight, bro? But here's another thing too: is
that's what I was gonna say.
I wrote this down, Keith. Is do you think his cut to 205 is so fucking bad on him that he just cannot perform? Absolutely. Like, do you think him making 205 is what caused him to not perform in this fight? Like, that's a serious question.
Yes, I think that's a huge factor.
Where like his fight wasn't this fight. His fight was just getting to 205. That's what I wrote down in my notes. I think I don't know.
I do. He's a. I mean, I've seen him, and honestly, dude, if he sees this, he's probably gonna beat me up. Like he could kill me. Like I like the guy. He's a nice guy. He's a super nice guy. Which I mean, that's not why I'm also trying to be entertaining too. But
well, no, but I'll say it. I'm okay. So I'm from a town that's a city. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, which is obviously known for MMA. It's South Florida. Think about all the MMA gyms there. And then right. And now I live just outside of Spokane, Washington. Also pretty known for MMA. So I'm not feeling as bad as you do, but I won't come across William Knight unless he decides to come out here. It's pretty cold right now, but William Knight, what the fuck were you doing, man? Like this is not a performance for someone that wants to be an MMA fighter anymore. This is from a performance from a guy that has one fight left on his contract, wants out, and just wants to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, that very well might be the case. Like I could see William Knight being in Connecticut, like teaching football players how to lift weights, like high school. Like you own one of those little gyms where you're a powerlifting gym, and you're like, you know what I'm talking about when there's like athletic performances.
Oh yeah.
You're like, a linebacker and you want to put
weightlifting. Yeah.
Like you're a linebacker and you're 200 pounds, but you really want to get to 220. You go with William Knight. He gives you like bunch of beef and you're power lifting, you're slamming the weights as you drop them and shit.
And like, if that's what you want to, if that's what you want to do that. But like, don't come to the UFC if that's what you want to do. Don't West Coast. Yeah, well, I live I don't live in Spokane. I live outside of Spokane. I live, I could probably throw a rock into the state of Idaho where I live. It's really nice. I'm surrounded by mountains.
RC Kim said he turned into a passive. It looked like it
was so bad.
It looked like one of those videos. You see like those videos and it's like a junior high kid getting bullied and he's like getting punched and like he like refuses to fight back because he's scared.
Yeah, but then eventually he snaps back and fights. I'm
talking about the videos with that like getting punched and they just covering up and then that's like you have to watch it and you're like, what the fuck? And then they just
do something.
And then like some like jiu-jitsu coach sees it and they post it out there and said, hey, I want to teach this kid jiu-jitsu.
Tom DeBlas does
it. Yeah. Tom DeBlas just did it with that's the exact video I was thinking of. And there's a whole bunch of them. Like a couple of the Gracies have done it. And all of them do. It's some guys I don't know in jiu-jitsu, and they say, hey, this guy's from my hometown. I want to give him a free membership so he can defend himself. Like that's what it looked like. It looked like a guy like kicking you and you're like, oh, look at the kid over there getting kicked. Like,
and like,
terrible.
Okay, and it's not.
Did you see the UFC Twitter? The UFC's own Twitter tweeted and made fun of him. Did you see that?
No, I need.
Yeah, there was a Twitter of them like saying, "Hey, he's just standing there doing nothing." It was like a cartoon thing.
That's why is anybody scared of Marcin Prachnio? What has Marcin Prachnio done in his career to make you? What? Oh, West Coast. Holy shit! You and I live. I won't reveal where I live, but you and I live very close to each other. We live about 15 minutes away.
Dev won't say where he lives because he's worried about the masses of listeners that'll be chasing him down, standing out of the side trying to get a glimpse of him.
Wow, holy shit! You live in Post Falls.
They won't even, listen, when you step out of your house, they won't even recognize you because there'll actually be some light.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know if I'm sure I know what your face looks like. You look like one of those in the videos where they like the guy quits the mob and they cover up his face
and they change their voice like this.
Yeah, like in the dark.
Yeah. Maybe I'm an informant. Maybe that's how I get.
Alan McDonald asked. It is. All that Mark Jung did. He said that Betts lady, what's her name, Mincy Betts.
Oh God!
Did she really pick? I didn't see that. Did
Mincy Betts?
Did she pick William Knight? Is that just a joke? Did she pick William Knight to win by knockout?
Please.
Alan McDonald said asked if they made fun of him. I guess they put a SpongeBob. I didn't. I know who SpongeBob is. There's some other character from SpongeBob, I guess, saying he just standing there. Yeah. Oh no, Mark Jung was just kidding. I didn't know. Sorry, that was good. That was good, Mark Jung.
I'm looking for it now.
The guy landed 0 punches in 15 minutes to the head. Like that's everything you need to do. Like,
why are you scared of Marcin Prachnio?
Yeah, I don't know. You like.
What has Marcin Prachnio done?
You know what I felt like it was? You ever watch The Blind Side, the movie The Blind? You see The Blind Side,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember when like the Blind Side guy was getting pushed around by like this like the smaller white kids? And then like everyone's like, dude, look, you're like 8 feet tall. You're like huge. Like I want to say, I mean, now William Knight obviously is not tall, but it's like, have you seen what you look like, dude? Like you should be running this guy. If you just looked at a picture of these two, who would win? You'd be like, oh my God, William Knight is a scary. All right, let me ask this. If you just took pictures of UFC fighters and said, who's the scariest looking dude in the UFC? I mean, I don't know if you're picking William Knight, but I mean, he's one of the first picks. Like who's scarier looking than William Knight? There's no one more jacked than him.
What is he lifting all those weights for, Keith? Because it's not to punch Marcin Prachnio in the face.
I don't know.
I started watching this fight, and I was like, okay, William Knight's just gonna wait to explode. Like first round. Okay, 5 minutes has gone by.
He's still waiting. Waiting.
I'm waiting for him.
Maybe it was like maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's like a Yoel Romero. Remember when Yoel Romero was fighting Phil Davis and then thought there was 2 more rounds? Maybe that's what happened. William Knight thought there was more rounds. I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Well,
all right,
it was so bad. Like if you like waterboarding or just like strap someone to a chair and then just like put this on loop for 24 hours straight and just force them to watch this, like I don't know what would be worse. Like this was I was so angry.
I'm already getting myself killed at the next CES show, so let's move on. The worst thing about the William Knight thing, it was right after 2 back-to-back incredible fights.
Oh my God.
Jim Miller took on Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez winning a unanimous decision. I thought this was an incredible fight. I don't know if I have the awards. Ben is usually on top of that. I'm assuming if they gave out a fight of the night, it was probably this one. Hernandez also took the fight on short notice, which was really impressive.
Yeah.
I remember watching Jim Miller's like media day interviews, and he was talking, and he was probably asked like he was one of the longer ones because it's Jim Miller and everything.
Yeah.
They asked him about everything but Alexander Hernandez. I think he had one question about Alexander Hernandez, and I'm not saying Jim Miller looking past him or anything. I mean, you answer the questions he gets asked you, but I was really impressed by Alexander Hernandez. I thought he looked great tonight. I think he did a lot of things right. I like the way that he was switching stances on Jim Miller, confusing him. I liked how he was cutting angles. I liked that he worked the body against Jim Miller. I liked the step in knees. And he started off a little slow, but when he found his range, he just started piecing up. And I want to talk about the ending of the fight, but I'll let you get your comments in first, and we'll talk about the very end. But yeah, I thought Alex Hernandez looked really good tonight.
This fight still tells me he clearly suffers from all the problems he has always suffered from. Where, if Jim Miller were to if he just pushed a little bit, like if that skill gap was just closed by 1 more centimeter, if they were just 1 centimeter closer, or if Jim Miller would have just pressed just a little bit harder. There were a lot of moments where he was getting Hernandez on the back foot. And again, about watching, the fighter's face, where you could tell his face changes. Him being on the front foot, hitting Jim Miller with the jab, landing clean shots. His teep kicks to the stomach were great. His body kicks were great. His body work in general was great. His combination punching was great, all off the front foot. Anytime that Jim Miller forced him to take the back foot, that's when Jim Miller had all of the success with his his, you could say, like karate style blitzes. But like Jim Miller, as old as he is, Jim Miller is where he's at. I think if Jim Miller could have pushed a little bit harder, or he just had that little bit more. Because Alex Hernandez on the front foot, like when he's firing and things are going his way, he looks great.
Yeah,
he always has.
His issue is he doesn't sidestep at all. He
Nope.
backs straight up. So when Miller had success when he was blitzing him was when he was going straight back, and he also backs himself up on the center line. So if you just keep throwing punches, eventually they're going to hit the cage and they're not going to be able to move, and you're throwing shots. That's the only thing I had an issue with Hernandez. Miss Frybaby asked a good question about Miller getting cut. I think it was actually from the eye poke, but his eye really closed up, and his left eye. Did that help Hernandez land his left hand? That she's asking that. I don't know, but I'm assuming it did. I definitely, was that scratch? Was that from that early eye poke, or was that from left hands that were landed for Hernandez? I don't know, but his eye did seem. If you saw his eye was pretty swollen up, it was damaged pretty
Yeah,
early.
if you get raked and then you get jabbed, on top, like if the damage is already there a little bit, it's like ripping a piece of paper. The first rip's all, it's a piece of paper, but you rip a piece of paper and then you just keep flicking it, over and over and over again. The rip's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's kind of what happened to Jim Miller. He was pretty bloodied up, and he looks so grizzled with his long hair, like the blood is like sticking to his face, and he just looked like a fucking mess. I felt kind of bad,
There's like gray patch in the middle now too.
That was red.
It's like red here, then it's like gray right here. Yeah. So I'm going to disagree on one thing with you. To me, I really think this could be a turning the corner moment for Jim. Excuse me, for Alex Hernandez, because it's a back and forth fight. He's probably up 2-1 with about 40 seconds left. So he's about to win the third round. The first round was a toss up. He wins the second round. He's winning the third round. Jim Miller, some scramble happens. He catches them off balance, takes his back. There's like 40 seconds left. He's trying to get a rear naked choke in. Before Alex Hernandez would have made a mistake, or he would have folded, he wouldn't have got out of that position. He would have lost the round. Something would have happened, and he didn't. And you have a legend like Jim Miller, the guy who has the most wins in UFC history, guy who's been in that position, obviously known for his ground game, and he didn't panic. He found a way to get out, and he found a way to win. I feel like that. And we don't do this often. We do more of the X of those than the like intangibles. But to me, that's like an intangible, a feather in your hat. Like you can have that moment now that like I didn't panic. I found a way. I beat a big name like Jim Miller. Maybe it's a confidence booster, and maybe this is something that can kind of propel him to, and he might go on a nice little run.
Yeah, and he also, and I do sort of agree with you on that. He showed in this fight. I think he got over the hurdle of like, I can still win fights. And I think sometimes for some people, that's kind of all you need, to where, you continue. Imagine going from knocking out Beneil Dariush to just getting constantly finished. You're on a multiple fight losing streak. You've been finished. You've been tuned up, where he finally kind of probably told himself today, like, hey, after that first round, like I hung in there. I took big shots. I didn't get knocked out. And he definitely seemed more confident than usual. Like in this Billy Q fight, you could see where he broke mentally. The choke wasn't set up properly, but I mean, still, that's Jim Miller, and that's still an imposing position to be in. I lost you on audio here, Keith. Maybe everyone else has too.
No, I forgot to hit my unmute button.
Okay.
I'm not professional. The other thing, we'll put a pin on the 145-pound talk because he did fight Billy Q at 145 and
Sure.
at 145. But this is short notice. For him to like be in a war and not fold at the end, to actually have it spurt right at the very end to the bell. He's actually trying to get a finish right at the end, landing some hard shots in Jim Miller. A big thing about Alex Hernandez has been the question in his cardio, and that was not an issue today. Now, again, when you're teeing off on a guy, it's a lot different than
when things are going your way.
But Jim Miller had a lot of moments, kind of buckled them in the third round, took him down, had a moment where he had his back, and he found a way to continue on. I just thought I thought it was a good showing from Alex Hernandez.
Yeah.
But let's move on. Before that, Evan Elder took on Nassim Sadikov, and this fight was like a fight of the night before that too, as we had an absolute war. It didn't end kind of how we wanted it, but Nassim Sadikov, and I apologize if I was saying his name incorrectly. He won by third round TKO by Dr. Stoppage. You've actually sent me the picture of the cut. I sent it out to a couple people that I know. Actually sent it out to one of the cornermen of Sadikov that I know. It's a bad cut. It was the right call.
Oh, yeah. He had 3 eyebrows.
Let me ask you this, though. How would you have the fight scored up to that point?
Okay. So what I wrote down in my notes here, I actually had Elder up 2 rounds to none, but I also wrote down that I would not be mad if you had it the exact opposite because it was a close fucking fight. I just think Sadiakov was more of a, he's more of like a bull, more of a battering ram in that fight. And I think Elder used a little bit more of elusive footwork. I think he was a little bit slicker. This fight really, whoever had the front foot had the most success in this fight.
Yeah. So when I was watching this, I had it 1-1, but I was okay with any scorecard. And the judges, just for the record, all 3 judges had Elder up 2-0. So that's how I had it. You feel even worse for the guy that they ended by a cut. And again, it was a right call and rightfully so for Sadikov, but it sucks even worse that the fight gets stopped and you're winning. I know some people are saying headbutt. There was a moment where he landed a knee, so I thought it was from that.
It was that kick where the knee landed.
Yeah, like he hit him with his knee that they're saying cut it open. I know so a lot of people are saying headbutt. They did clash heads at one point, so maybe they can find it and maybe they get turned into no contest. So be it if it does. As far as the technique, I thought Sadikov was a lot more controlled. I thought he was cutting angles well, but Elder hit harder. And he had more variety in his attacks. Like, for example, he'd rip like 2 hooks to the head, and then he'd rip one down to the body. So while Sadikov was like headhunting, the one thing I'll say about Elder is he had such a poor performance in his UFC debut. Like, even though he lost this one and now he's 0-2, like he looks pretty good. Like, both cardio was great. Their
wrestling looked good. They're scrambling. Like, they both wrestled and scrambled. It was this was. Shout out to the matchmakers. Usually they don't always get it right, but they got this one right. Like this was such a good fucking fight.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Sorry guys, I have a little bit of a cold. So
I think also too what allowed them to have so much success on each other was the orthodox and southpaw stances being against.
Sure.
I think
Sadikov was changing his stances a little bit.
So was Elder. But both of them primarily won. Elder's head movement in the pocket, just like you said, also switching the variety, going to the body, going to the head, and his angles and straight punches look really good. Sadiakov seemed to be more of the physical one of the two, though, where he seemed to just again be more of just the brute. Such a close, crazy that Aljo is in his corner. And Aljo got finished by Marlon Moraes with a very similar type of kick that turned into a knee that, Sadiakov finishes Elder with. It looked like Elder got hit in the head with a hammer.
Yeah, it's a bad one. If you haven't seen it, wow. So I didn't see the poll. Obviously, we're doing this live, so Miss Fry maybe is saying that Sadikov admitted that it was a headbutt and not the kick. So that's good. They're very good. Could be overturned. So
At what point? Okay, so at what point? Say this were to be an eye poke, because again, now this becomes unintentional, right?
Sure, sure.
So then, at what point? How far along do they need to go until they base it off the scorecards? Because at this point, Elder would have had 2 in the bag already.
I think it. I don't think they'll overturn it completely to a win for Elder. I think it'll be overturned to a no contest. I think. I don't know that. I don't know. It's a.
Well,
But yeah, there could be a chance that Elder gets a win if they go.
Yeah, because if this was an eye poke or a groin strike or a headbutt, and they noticed the cut right away from the headbutt, and they had to stop it that way, at what point do they go to the scorecards? I know there's some criteria. Ben would know.
Yeah, Ben, of course, Ben. Jay Petrie would know if he was watching live. Before that, speaking of cuts, the elbow queen, Lena Landsberg, took on Mayra Bueno Silva. Bueno Silva winning by second round submission with a knee bar. Really slick submission. Bueno Silva looked fantastic tonight. She's just better than Landsberg everywhere. I mean, she was getting her range. She was landing a nice power hooks. She was ripping the body with kick after kick after. I mean, you could see Landsberg, who's like, say what you want about Landsberg, she's tough as hell. Like, she can take a beat.
Oh my god,
her body is crumbling from the. You could see when she's getting kicked hurt. Like, you could see that grip. Like, other people would have dropped, but because Landsberg's so freaking tough, she's just showing it in her face, like, ugh, you know.
But that sucked. Yeah. Body kicks are one of the only shots. Body kicks and calf kicks, you could really see when someone takes like a good one. You just see their, again, you see their face change. And the impact on them was just. I think Mayra Bueno Silva made it a point to try to beat Lena Landsberg in all the places that Lena Landsberg is best in as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because then with the body kicks, Landsberg said, "Oh, I'm gonna get to the clinch and do that," and then she's losing the clinch battles,
getting eaten with fucking big elbows.
Yeah, and beating her with the body shots and just like beating her up in there. And then as far as the wrestling went, I mean, she made Landsberg take that. She was taking it down with ease.
Landsberg did have that moment where she reversed the position, and then she had a little bit of ground control from the top, and then disengaged, and then just decides to re-engage, and then just gets a knee bar slapped on her. Like, number one,
I saw people being really critical of her, but in fairness, she's getting beaten everywhere. So, like, she was trying jumping at a moment.
Yeah. What is she?
I don't hate on her for jumping back in there.
No, I mean, and it's an MMA fight. Like, we just saw Volkanovski do that to Islam. So who are we to say anything? But at the same time, like, you're 40 years old. Like, you probably I'm not gonna say nobody should be fighting. That's their choice to make. But like, at 40 years old, as a bantamweight in women's MMA, like, getting a knee bar put on you, like, that's an injury that could like change your life too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, getting your knee fucking ripped apart at 40. I think she's a mother of 3. Like, she might need to be looking at herself after this and being like, what am I doing? Because the next knee bar could be me leaving, like, not walking on my own 2 feet.
Yeah, no, and she got her ass whooped the whole time. I mean, the ground game for Bueno Silva was amazing. It's just a really flawless victory from Bueno Silva. She's on a nice little run. During the interview, in fairness, English is not her first language. And she has a very thick accent. It was a little tough to hear what she was saying. But she called out Raquel Pennington. And at one point, I think she also mentioned Misha Tate too, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm okay with that. Like, she's on a nice little run. It's a very shallow division. Yeah, sign me up.
Well, they first interpreted it as Pena. Like, okay, give her Juliana. I don't care. Give her Juliana Pena, whatever. Like, I mean, she probably would beat Juliana Pena from what I saw tonight. Not even kidding. Like, like, Mayra Bueno Silva. Another thing too that you got to touch on is Lena Landsberg was ranked number 12 in the division. So like that, like
Bueno Silva deserves a higher ranked
fighter. Oh, she should be like ranked 5 in the division.
Yeah, like, she deserves a high ranked opponent now.
She should just already be ranked there, period. Like, it's women's bantamweight. Like, who's there? Like, well,
she's in the Sherdog rankings. I think we have her like 13.
She was 15. She was 15 in the UFCs. Yeah, she was 15 in the UFC. But like, I don't give her. Nunes is supposed to be fighting. Gosh, she's from Mexico. Why is her name escaping me right now?
I'm sorry, I was reading it. What you
Nunes is supposed to be fighting. Gosh, what's her name? She's from Mexico.
Irene Aldana.
Yeah, Aldana. Is that a fact? Is that happening like for sure?
I don't know. I don't.
Or is it going to be? Or is she rematching Pennington? Give her the loser of that, Aldana Pennington. If they're fighting, I heard rumors of them also being matched up. Give her that.
She called Pennington, and that's not a fight that most people call because of Pennington's style. She can grind you. She's,
she does yeah.
Not many people are calling for a Raquel Pennington fight, so yeah, book it.
Yeah,
and I think she did say Miesha Tate. I think I like.
Did she beat?
I think the tougher match. I think I do. I think she beats up Miesha Tate at this point.
I think she'd beat the shit out of her. Especially like look what Laura Murphy did to her. Yes, that's down at 125, but like sure. I don't know. Why couldn't Mayra Bueno Silva beat Raquel Pennington? She showed me. She showed me enough tonight to where I feel like she could be a threat. She's got more tools. She has more offensive tools.
In fairness, let's not get too excited. She beat up Lita Landsberg. Like the bottom of the division. Before that, Jamal Emmers took on Hussein Ashkabov, winning by unanimous decision. I thought it was a really good performance by Emmers. To me, it was just the difference between being controlled and being wild. And to me, Ashkabov didn't have a plan B. Like his plan A was throw big shots, maybe land them, or like those big shots lead into my takedowns. And when those takedowns weren't landing, he didn't have a plan B. And nothing. He didn't change anything up. And as every minute went down, he was tiring himself out with it's a very hard. You're throwing haymakers and going for takedowns. It's nothing more tiring. And Emmer showed beautiful takedown defense. Hold on, he showed beautiful takedown defense in the first round, and then it just became easier and easier. So
yeah.
I'm not going to give him credit for like.
His takedown defense even like were like heavy, like high energy sprawls to where like I don't even know if like at the second round like you even needed to expend that much energy to even defend those takedowns at that point. Like,
no. It came down. The whole fight came down to there was two parts in the first round. One right away, probably less than a minute into the fight, Ashkabov gets in deep, arms around the hips. He's locked. His hands are locked, like he's gonna go. And Emmers found a way to like heavy hit back into him, not get taken down. That was a huge moment. And then later on, same thing. Now Ashkarov's more like he's got the lock, but he's like behind the hip, and he's trying to like juke him forward and then trying to bring him back. And Emmers kept finding a way to stay up on his feet. And those two things, like,
his underhooking was really good. It broke Ashkabov. And I think this is like a perfect example. People always say, I'm gonna use Habib as an example. People would say like, oh, his record was padded coming to the UFC, but then like Ashkabov had a similar record coming to the UFC, even though he was undefeated. This one kind of seemed pretty clear if you did any tape study too, to where I felt like this fight was kind of gonna look like this, where Ashkabov was, I felt like Emmers was even gonna have more success on the feet.
Well, to me, Emmers looked a lot more improved because you remember what 17 they did to him.
Yeah,
before that, so like he showed really improvement since the last fight on the ground.
Yeah,
well, I think keep it from going to the ground. I should say
he treated bad positions like the floor is lava, which is where like what you need to be doing with someone that's like him. Where when you're in top position, you're getting takedowns. You have mount like that's safe. Like he's not a BJJ threat off of his back, and he's avoiding those those like leg locking interactions. He's avoiding weird scrambly positions. He's avoiding takedowns. I think that's good for him. His clinch looked really good tonight. Like his dirty boxing, he was switching to the body and then throwing like uppercuts in there. He looked good. I wish there were moments where I know he's like a big time training partner of Bobby Green, to where there was like a lot of counter punching moments where instead of counter punching, he was, he would actually shoot takedowns off of Ashkabov's like way overswung punches, where he was like going for like clinch situations or like trying to tie up. And I was thinking like, man, if he was just like a little bit more of a slick back flip counter puncher, like just like an L step with the uppercut, like could have taken Ashkabab's head off.
Yeah, I want to point out something that Marcus Mustard said. I saw this on Twitter after the fights. Like a lot of people were bashing, as you mentioned, bashing his competition, all this, and like, oh, like,
and then the layoff, major layoff.
Like, yeah, he was out for 3 years. He moved up a weight class. He took on a good guy in Emmers, and like he didn't get whitewashed. He showed that he's at least UFC talent. Like people were dogging him. I'm like, that wasn't that bad of a showing. Like, yeah, he lost.
Yeah,
in the UFC debut, but yeah,
Jamal Emmers is a good fighter. He comes from a good camp. He's a good fighter. He's got a good skill set. Like maybe if you look at his record without like watching any tape, you're like, oh well, this guy's got just losses, but he's fought. He's all
right. I think he's a UFC talent for sure.
Yeah, like he's good. Is he going to ever contend in the top 15? No, but can he earn? One thing I do want to touch on where he was pretty emotional post fight, and to see like this, to see guys that are this low on the card be like that emotional kind of like saddens me a little bit, where like I know like the money he's probably making, and
he's making them.
And it's just like
once he pays taxes and he pays his corner and
it's just
gym fees and everything, he gets almost nothing. But I like how he just kept bringing like cornermen out to
calling him in.
I'm like, dude, if he just let him keep talking, he probably would have thanked me eventually. Like
he was Devin, I gotta go, Keith.
Yeah. Speaking of top 15 guys, former top 15 guy, former title challenger, Vince St. Preux took on former PFL champion Felipe Lins. Felipe Lins looks, besides his record at 205, his body looks good at 205. Like he looks in great shape. And then he just threw a perfectly timed left hand right down the pipe. And Vince St. Preux, I've been saying this for a long time.
He's done.
He's absolutely shot. He's a shot fighter. He's shot. He's been knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights. He's done. I'm not cutting him though. I'm not putting him on my cut list. And the reason why, he still has some name value. Somebody let him get knocked out again by someone who's a prospect. Like I need a name who's a prospect in the division. Let him knock out Vince St. Preux. Like give me one more out the way out. I'm being a dick to OSP, but let him get over somebody.
Well, like this, he just like stepped in, threw like a lazy leg kick, and then Lins just threw an exploding left hand straight down the pipe and just put him on skates right away, and then just threw like a barrage of shots. Kind of clipped him with one that dropped him to a knee at one point. I think it was like towards the back of the head behind the ear area. And then Ovens tried to take an angle. The second he tried to take that angle and circle out, he dropped his hands. And then Lins again with a leap, just a big leaping left hook and just drop and just flattened OSP. And he knew right then and there.
Yeah, the one thing I like about Lins at 205 is like when he's at heavyweight, he's not one of these like out of shape, but he's not a big one, he's not a little one, he's like this in between. And it's like nothing spectacular about him. At 205, he's got to be in shape. He can fight differently because of that. So I do like that. I thought this was one of the easier fights to pick on the card. So
just go for it against OSP. Like anyone that just goes for it is gonna have success. Like you just can't let him start and you just go for it against OSP. You're gonna win. And if
there's not many guys in the division I take OSP over right now.
William Knight.
All right. Yeah. OSP got knocked out in like 35 seconds, and he's landed more punches than William Knight.
Did he though? I don't think he did, man.
Well, hey, I know this. He didn't land less. I can tell you that.
Shit.
It's not possible.
Like negative.
William Knight scored 0 punches. Before that, AJ Fletcher took on Thumba Gorimbo. Yeah, I understand Gorimbo likes to wrestle, but would you have a 10-inch reach advantage on a guy and you actually land, like the one time you actually let your hands go, you land pretty clean shots. Like there was a part where he blasted AJ Fletcher with a nice straight right hand and then shot immediately on him. Like, what are you doing? His strategy was okay. It won't be criticized, when it comes to strategies on tonight's card because somebody will overshine him. But it was a really bad strategy for a guy who has a natural God-given like ability or attribute, being that he has almost a foot longer reach than this guy. What are you doing? And he gets the fight to the ground. He has no control. And the difference between when Fletcher got on top, you could see him slowly, not rushing things, slowly. Okay, I'm going to move him out. Okay, I'm going to slide up to the armpits, and that like everything was controlled before he finished the fight. Man, just and does AJ Fletcher get 2 wins because he tapped him twice? The guy tapped twice.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the first. It wasn't even a phantom tap. It was only one. It was one tap.
He tapped, and then he goes, "Oh, maybe it's not the time." Oh no, yes it is.
Yeah, he tried to fight the hands on. No.
He tried Matt Lindland and that shit.
Just like you said, we did just watch Randy Brown get like kind of violently knocked out by Jack Della Maddalena. But up until that point, like if you're a tall guy, like that's what you need to be doing. Like you need to be jabbing, you need to be throwing teeps. It's like if you have a broomstick in your hand and you're just poking, like don't get close to me, don't get close to me. Like that. Yeah. Like that's how you.
Yeah, no. He does. He has a broomstick, sticks it underneath his arm, and then wrestles.
He sets it down. Like what do you like? You just draw. Like you have a clear advantage. Like just jab, and you know what AJ Fletcher wants to do. Like he just wants to crash into you and cause explosions. Like that's his game. Like he just wants to, again, cause chaos, and then just that's how we won this fight. Chaotic moment, clinch break, elbow, makes him shoot a bad takedown, jumps on the guillotine. Finally, someone from Lafayette, Louisiana jumps on a guillotine and murks somebody with it.
That's right.
So shout out to Lafayette, Louisiana.
Oh, I like that one. Go teach your boy Poirier how to do it.
Yeah.
And before that, Ben's coke dealer Juan Camilo
Norris
took on Clayton Carpenter, with Carpenter winning by first round submission. I like Carpenter. He's a nice prospect in the flyweight division. Always needs bodies. Wasn't perfect. Like getting taken down was not a good, especially against a guy like Rondoris. Having moments you're getting held on, I don't like. But I like the chain grappling. Like he tried locking a triangle, doesn't get that. Switches the armbar, doesn't get that. Goes to the omoplata, then eventually takes it back. Like I like that he was adding things.
Yeah.
He's a younger fighter. Rondoris made a terrible mistake of like stop fighting the hands and like trying to like elbow the thighs, and I don't know what he's doing, but overall, wasn't it great? Like I feel like if you're, and this one again, I don't know, I keep bringing up like other sports, but if you're like a minor leaguer and you see a prospect, you're like, oh hey, this is the guy that everyone's hot prospect, and you see him like he goes like 1 for 3. You're like, it wasn't perfect, but man, not bad. Like got 1 for 3, got a nice single. Okay, I feel good.
Yeah, and I liked his willingness to go for it. Like his active guard was pretty nice. Like it's crazy because any other division like that would suit him so well, but he's at flyweight where people can just do everything. Yeah. So it's just like damn it. If you were a welterweight with an active guard game, like off of your like an active guard game off your back, like people aren't fucking with that. But like at flyweight, we're literally like,
yeah, they can
like every like that's the only division, like having a like
you're not gonna like Tim Elliott like encourages that.
Yeah, they're like, come on, bring it,
Yeah.
This is the only division where like being a scrambly guy that has like an active game off the back is like, but it's still nice to see it. Like for me, and I think you and I are pretty similar to where like I like all facets of MMA, but I really like when someone could put on like a good grappling performance. Like I love just like a good, just a hard nose, like, a hard nose grappling game and someone that can impose that. Like, I like that kind of style. So just watching him like go for it, he was confident enough in his skills to go for that, to be willing to be put in a bad spot, cause you could get stacked putting your like, elevating your hips like that. You could just get fucking stacked, and then he had the transit. Like you could get past, you can get stacked. Like, and he was going
stacked
for
to
it.
A pass. Yeah.
and it was impressive to see, and he's big, dude. He looked really big. He dwarfed Juan Camillo.
Yeah, I think he's a good addition to the division. Flyweight it's not a deep division, but the talent is deep.
Oh my god, yeah.
So it's like quality over quantity.
Yeah, flyweight's so good. Like you have guys that are just,
So there you have it. That we've covered all 11 fights on paper, the worst card of the year. I don't know if grade wise it's going to be the worst, but on paper it was really bad. I don't know if I have the awards. I'm gonna see if someone sent it to me. No, but I do have the awards. I'm sorry, I do have the awards.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, and we'll throw this out to the chat. Guys, tell us your awards. So we have one fight of the night and two performances of the night. Who would you have given it to, the performances and the fight of the night? I'm okay with the UFC picks, but I'll let you throw out what you think yours would have been.
Okay.
I don't want you to guess. I'm just saying, like, if you're in charge, what are you doing?
If I'm in charge, you got to give Blanchfield a performance bonus all day.
Yep.
I feel like the UFC probably gave fight of the night to Jim Miller, but I do believe that Elder and Sadiakov deserve probably fight of the night. Like that was a banger. And then performance of the night. A lot of finishes early. Lynn's probably got one.
Yeah. So your picks would have been Lynn's, Blanchfield, and then Salikov and Elder. That's what you would have done.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Alan McDonald says Bueno Silva, Lynn's, Fighting Knives, Salikov, and Elder. Okay. I would have definitely gone with Blanchfield, and I would have went with Lynn's. Lynn's getting the first, even though it was against OSP, getting the first round knockout is always looks really good. I would have went with Jim Miller and Alex Fernandez. The only reason, and it's really close, both fights were really close. The reason I went that the way it finished, like this went the entire 15 minutes. We had excitement right to the very end. Even though the Salikov Elder fight was so, technique wise, and it was tremendous. Like the way it finished kind of makes a little sour taste. But the UFC actual awards where they went with Blanchfield, they went with Bueno Silva, which
nice.
Okay. So Lynn's didn't get it, and they actually agree with you. They went with Sadiakov and Elder.
Great.
So,
I knew Dana White was going to pay that. Was going to pay Elder because that's where I got the pictures from. Dana White had 3 pictures on his Instagram story, and Dana White physically went up and took those pictures of Elder's eye. And then at that point, I'm like, if Dana's going up to this kid, taking pictures of him, Dana doesn't do that to, he might do that to someone like Joe Pfeiffer. So I felt like Dana was probably going to throw this kid a bone.
Yeah, and I think that matters too. When you're looking at it, you're on the fence between 2 fights, and one guy's going to the hospital and he's getting stitches to cover up a 3-inch gap in his head. Yeah, I can see that being the tiebreaker, making you want to give that guy the $50K instead. I didn't totally agree with every pick, but they're all solid picks. Like, it was a pretty solid one, and it's good to see. Like, Jim Miller, he doesn't need it as much.
No, and
these guys lower on, especially a guy who now, like, Elder's now 0-2 in the UFC. Get himself 50. He's feeling a little bit better about his loss now with $50. Ben Cooley was going with the Askarov fight. He went with Blanchfield and Lynn's and Silva, so he's giving an extra one out. Ben Cooley's generous with his money. All right, let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. When a stock is going good or the market's going good, they call it a bull one. When it's going bad, they call it a bear market or bear stock. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style, 3-2-1, like stars of the night. All right, let's go with what do you want to do first? You want to be positive or negative?
Let's be positive first.
All right, let's go. Ben, I just called Ben. I'm sorry. Dev, I'll let you kick it off. First, sorry, we'll throw it out to the chat too. We'll read yours on the air too.
So my first bull, I'm going to give it to Carpenter. He won. Showed some good grappling. Won via finish, and the real reason is because he came out to Jimi Hendrix, and finally, it's not just Chase Sherman coming out to Voodoo Child. Someone that's actually like winning fights is coming out to some Hendrix. Got a Hendrix album behind me. So he gets my first one. And then I'm gonna give my second one to Emmers. A guy that came off a massive knee injury at his age, coming back and winning a fight against an undefeated guy, undefeated prospect. You got to give him some love. And then number one has got to be Erin Blanchfield.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even close. She's the real one. We always talk about coming out parties in MMA. This might be top 3. This is a coming out. This is this is not Anderson Silva and Chris Lieben, but they are in the same room.
And it felt like John Jones, Ryan Bader, where
yes,
Bader's supposed to be a real challenge for him, and he just smashes him. Looks like holy shit, who is this guy? That's what it felt like. Yeah, she was my top pick too, so I won't pick her. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, she's 23 years old. We're talking about getting her title shot next, and rightfully so.
She's a real prodigy. She is a true this is what an MMA prodigy looks like. This is it. We if you're not excited and you're listening to this, you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'll go my number 3, I want to go Felipe Lenz at light heavyweight. He's 2-0 now, just got a knockout.
Yeah.
Again, it was over. He's not being the best guys, but now 2-0 in a new division, kind of turning his career around where it seemed like he was a total bust in the UFC. Now he's getting a little bit of buzz for him. My number 2, Mayra Bueno Silva. Now another person changing weight classes, now 3-0 at women's bantamweight. And honestly, she's 1 or 2 wins in that division from a title shot. Bueno, I'm messing up her first name. Mayra Bueno Silva. I was adding them together. She could fight for a title this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I think there's more of I think it would be harder to convince Amanda Nunes to cut weight to 135 and fight Mayra Bueno Silva than it would be for Mayra Bueno Silva to get there on achievements. Okay. If that makes sense. You get what I'm saying?
Sure. And again, I had Erin Blanchfield number 1, so I'll change a different one to number 1. How about the build off your Emmers? How about just the Jamals? Jamal went 2-0 on the night.
Yeah.
Pogues and Emmers going 2-0. Not often the Jamals fighting, so give a shout out to them. I'm gonna give a bonus one. Jamal Pogues' mother. I know Lauren Seiko said that I think she had a last round of chemo treatment. So obviously she's a bull for that. Fantastic.
100%. 1,000%.
Continue kicking ass there, Miss Pogues, and congratulations to your son for winning. All right, let's go negative. This is the Bears section. I'm not even getting it. I'll go first this time. I'm going to go with Askabov. Now, again, I agree with, I believe it was Marcus who said this, not a terrible performance, but anytime you get your first loss, we've talked to me and Ben, I've talked this a million times. You guys heard us say it. Just losing your undefeated thing steals a little bit of your shine. So Askabov's stock went down a little bit. My number 2, Jessica Andrade. I mean, this is a woman that was sitting there possibly in a title shot in 2 weight classes. Either one now she's kind of put himself in the back of a, short line, but still in the back of the line. And you guys know who's number 1 on my list. It's freaking William Knight. I mean, 3 losses in a row. During that run, he has the record for the biggest weight miss in UFC history, and then he just added on probably the worst game plan in UFC history. So William Knight. Do you have any other Bears?
Yeah, you gotta put Jordan Wright on that list. How many losses in a row? He's out of the UFC now. He his first time he went to decision, still lost the fight. Got to go up a weight class. Got a co-main event spot. This was his time. If you're gonna do something, if you're doing anything else, this is when you need to do it, and he didn't do it. Lost. Yeah, he clearly it seemed kind of like a fight that Pauga should win, but at the same time, right? Is how many losses is for him? 4 in a row.
4 in a row, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be gone. Like that. That's it.
And this is where you guys, Dev watches every week. He doesn't know the difference between the Bears list and the cut list.
Yeah, well, they could be the same.
He watches every week.
Because, you got to give another one. You got to give another one to OSP. He's big bear here. Like you just shouldn't fight anymore. Like you're just taking damage for no reason. To where I don't know what else you've got going on, but like hopefully you've got something.
Like please don't do bare knuckle boxing.
Shit.
Please don't.
Yeah, and then obviously the biggest bear is William Knight, man. Like, and you know what sucks too? Like, we didn't say anything about this, but the giant baked potato on Pragnio's foot.
Oh, he had that. Yeah, that's true. He had the opportunity. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
Pragnio has a broken foot.
Well, like, imagine having an opponent in front of you that doesn't do anything and you still break your foot. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, he left this fight with a broken foot. I'm like, that's a hard injury to rehab. And, like, clearly his foot is broken. And it's like,
his face is fine, though, because he didn't get punched one time.
Yeah, it's just, imagine you got a guy that's sitting in front of you. I'm like, damn it, you still broke your foot. Like, you just, like, he could.
Could you imagine leaving the fight and you didn't get punched one time in the face in 15 minutes?
Yeah, and your foot's the size of a balloon, like.
All right, you kind of already gave your cut list.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I have a little bit of cold. So the cut list is both me and Dev have to have the same name on our list. If we do, we give the UFC permission to get rid of this person. I have 4 people on my list. How many do you have?
Not 4. I have 2 now, and I could be easily convinced into 10.
Right. So you had Jordan Wright.
Yeah.
He's lost 4 in a row. So I also had Jordan Wright. You had William Knight, 3 losses in a row going on. I also have William Knight. You saved Lena Landsberg, who's lost 4 in a row.
Yeah. OSP's got to be on it too, man. Gosh.
I didn't put OSP on the list because I'm letting him get knocked out one more time.
By who, though?
Yeah, but by some I don't know. Some I have to. I don't know. Bo Nickel was up to light heavyweight. And then my other one is the one that you're saving. You're saving this guy because you like the party. But
gosh.
Rondero, he's 0-2 in the UFC, 2 first-round submissions, and loves his cocaine. But you are from the great state of Washington, where grunge music started, so you like your cocaine. So he's staying.
Right. I just can't. If he can stay if he changes his name to Disco Shit, but if he doesn't change his nickname to Disco Shit, he's gone.
Yeah. Oh, Josh Parisian. I was looking at it. I was thinking about cutting him, but he keeps winning. He like wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. And I'm like,
It's heavyweight.
One more loss, and he loses the next one, he's gone. All right, let's get to the dude seriously. Do you have any dudes seriously? I got a couple.
I mean, I guess we're here to just bash William Knight as much as possible.
All right. I just thought Alex Hernandez had like one of the best performances of his career. Right before he went down to 145, had the worst performance of his career. I don't know if it's the worst, but one of the worst. And now he's talking back. You just beat Jim Miller. The guy has the most wins in UFC history at 155. And you want to go back down to 145? Dude, seriously?
I did not hear that. Did he really say that? I went to take a piss after the fight was over.
Yeah, he said, I'm going back down to 145. Dude, seriously? You just look great at 155. What are you doing? All right.
That's the class.
I don't even like doing this because I love this person. And so does everybody. Get in line. But Lorosenko, I think it was Josh Parisian. He broke his toes, and Lorosenko goes, not a big deal, just a couple broken toes. Did
you see them, though?
Loris, seriously? The guy's fighting, and he has broken toes. Seriously? That's not a big deal?
Did you see them, though? Did you see his toes?
I'm assuming his toes are gross.
Okay, so they were it's like if you were asking someone for directions and they just pointed 2 different directions.
Yeah. Yeah, not serious. No, she did. She listen. In fairness, I'm kind of picking on her because she did say the big toe is very like that's really bad because where you plant. She was talking more about performance wise, not pain. I know
Sure.
what she was doing, but I'm looking for dude seriously. So give me a break. But my last one, of course, is William Knight related. But all throughout the UFC broadcast, they were talking about Black History Month, and they have like the black athletes that were fighting tonight say something. The best part is William Knight has this big like speech.
After the loss.
Yeah, it's after the loss. He has this big speech, but his speech is talking about like what Black History Month means to him, and he says it's about like going for your goals, and you're better off, you're better off just trying and failing than not trying at all, or something like that. Just standing and doing nothing, it never helps me. You should always try to go get your goals and fight for your goals, and if you fail, that's okay, but don't just sit on the sidelines and watch other people do it. I'm like, dude, seriously? That's literally what the fuck you did tonight.
I've just never like
go back to, I'm not doing it. It's even worse. It's even worse than that. Because he's like trying to give this like hoorah speech as like a public speaker to the kids or something.
And they played it after his fight was over.
It was after his fight too. Yeah.
So I saw it too. And I saw him speaking, and I just like, I disengaged. I was like, I'm not like, I don't, you just embarrassed. Like, William Knight, dude, seriously, like, you don't want to be an MMA fighter. Like, you want to be a weightlifter. I truly think that he made weight because he probably thought he wasn't going to fight, and losing 30% of his purse for missing weight was going to suck more than actually just like making weight and losing.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. I've never seen anybody go in there like he didn't fight. He didn't want to fight.
Yeah, we're not going to talk anymore about William.
I can't believe it.
I'm never watching one of his fights again. All right, let's get to the grade of the card. What was your? And I'll read the comments. What was your grade for the card?
The UFC really loves to tell you, like, and it's become a thing where they're like, it's definitely in the ear of the commentators saying like, hey, these weak cards, you need to watch out because they you never know, they'll always overperform. You just have to keep an eye on them. And there was a lot of finishes in this one. This wasn't bad. Erin Blanchfield doing what she did to Jessica Andrade really turns this from a C to a B for me. So I'm giving this a solid B.
Yeah, the prelims were fire, and then we had two really great the Hernandez Miller fight and the Sadikov and Elder fight with two really fire fights. But there was a 3-fight run that it was just snoozer. Well, it was all-time snoozer, and a snoozer. Blanchfield saved the card. I'm going to give it a C.
Sure.
I'm not going to go any higher than that because to me, I also weighed in like relevance moving forward does matter a little bit to me. Yeah. So I'll give it a C. Hardest question every single night. Obviously, Dev, you are the listener tonight, as always, filling in. But and I want to show this out to you guys. I haven't done this in a really long time. If you're a person who watches the show all the time, you comment, you guys know who you are. If you want to jump in one time, if me or Ben are off, that's one big thing I kind of stressed to Ben, and Ben's 100% on board. That's how both me and Ben started. I used to listen to the Sherdog Radio Network with TJ DeSantis. I used to be a regular caller. Ben was the same way. So if you want to jump on one time, you private message me. I'll get you on. We've had a couple people on, Ben, with me and Ben, as Dev has been kind of the guy. But putting you on the spot, who is the listener? And there was some great chatting tonight, but who is the listener of the night?
So I've got to give it to West Coast. I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's here still.
He's from West Coast.
Yeah, he only because he lives in Post Falls, and that is extremely close to where I live, and I'm shocked by that. So cool that people are this close out here in this part of the country listening. That just shows you the reach that Sherdog has. So I'm going to give a shout out to West Coast.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll tell you something real quick. A story. I remember I used to go watch the fights at Buffalo Wild Wings, and one day, like all my friends that I normally watch fights with or whatever, like they were all like casuals. They didn't feel like coming out, and it wasn't the best card. And I had to go into a Buffalo Wild Wings, and while I'm there, there's two guys standing there talking, and there's like we're at like the corner, then the bar loops around. There's another guy. We all start talking to each other. And then we find out that all 4 of us are all by ourselves. Like, I thought they were together. They weren't. And we were all just talking the fights. And we just had a great time, the 4 of us talking. Like, the next event, next month, I go again. This is like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I go again. And the same 4 guys are all by ourselves. But we're at different spots of the bar. And we're like, did you guys just want to get a table together? And we just became friends. And we said,
that's awesome.
And every single month, and one of the guys, Dave Chickapalm Stewart, he's in our chat a lot. Just some guy I met at a bar one day. We became friends. We went to a couple of UFCs together. Yeah, Doug.
That's great.
Over. Yeah, so 4 of us became friends instead of watching. And so I started working for Sherdog. That changed, but Dave still comes over. Doug still comes over my house. So, yeah. Anyways, my listener, I want to throw a shout out. I think this was a newcomer. I haven't seen him in the chat before, or excuse me, her in the chat before. She was fantastic. Miss Fry Baby. She was really great. But I have to do this one. My listener, again, I don't know if it's true, but claiming it's true. Pixel Fireplace, claiming to be Erin Blanchfield's cousin, was really chatting up, obviously, during the Erin Blanchfield. So for them to jump in and keep it going. So I'm going to give the royalty being to Erin Blanchfield's cousin as our listener of the night. So there you guys have it. We have recapped every single fight. We'll be back. Me and Ben are already taped. What's the card? I'm already ahead of that one. Krylov Span card, which is coming up. Not a bad for a fight night card. And then we'll be back next Saturday recapping that. And then we have a big one after that, probably the biggest card of the year, UFC 285, the return of John Jones, moving up in weight, challenging Cyril Gane, plus the fight we were just talking about, Valentina Shevchenko fighting Alexa Grasso, and more important than both of those, what's the biggest part, Dev?
Shavkat Rakhmonov.
No. No. I'm going to throw this in the chat. They know what's the biggest part. Not John Jones.
Bo Nickel.
Bo Nickel. Come on. Maybe you're Bo Nickel.
But shout out to Shavkat.
Anyways, Dev, great job. See you later, guys.
Take care, guys. Thanks.